Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a mystery horror from 2018 titled Bird Box. The movie opens with a woman named Mallory Hayes preparing her children for a journey. She tells the two kids, whom she refers to as girl and boy, that they will row down a river for several days to reach a secluded forest house where they can meet other friends. However, they must wear blindfolds the entire time, or they will face danger. After the briefing, Mallory leads the blindfolded children outside, bringing her pet birds along. They soon arrive at the riverbank, where they board a waiting boat and embark on their journey. The film then flashes back 5 years. Mallory, an aspiring artist and 8 months pregnant, is coping with the stress of a recent divorce. One day, while painting, her sister Jessica brings news of a mysterious outbreak referred to as the Thing approaching their area. Mallory, disconnected from the world since her divorce, is unaware of the situation and turns on the TV. News channels report a strange outbreak in Eastern Europe that causes infected individuals to commit unthinkable acts. The virus seemingly takes control of the brain and turns people into monsters. Mallory dismisses the outbreak as distant and unrelated to the US. Later, Jessica takes her to see the doctor. At the hospital, Dr. Laphan, the family physician, tests Mallory and asks if she's ready to be a parent. After hesitating, Mallory says yes. On the way back, she sees a woman slamming her head against a glass pane, realizing the European outbreak has reached the States. Mallory rushes outside, telling Jessica they need to get home immediately. As they prepare to leave, chaos erupts with hundreds of infected people trying to end their lives through various means, including car collisions and falls. Jessica drives through the turmoil, seemingly about to reach home when her eyes become still, fixating on something only she can see. Mallory tries to snap her out of it, but they're soon involved in a serious car accident. The sisters escape unharmed, but a shocked Jessica takes her own life. With the city in chaos, Mallory tries to follow others to safety but trips and falls. A woman leaves her home to help Mallory, ignoring her husband's protests. Tragically, the evil entity possesses the woman, who stares at it before walking into a burning car, which explodes and kills her. After the horrifying encounter, Mallory is helped up and brought into a house by a man named Tom. Several people are inside, including the owner, Greg, his friend Douglas. In the following scene, everyone gathers in the main room to discuss the supernatural force causing chaos around the world. Charlie, a grocery store worker, suggests it's the end of the world, while others think it's an act of God. By now, they all know that the entity is untouchable and looking at it will lead to their death. Tom comforts Mallory, who grieves her sister's sudden passing. Just an hour ago, her life was carefree and joyful, but now everything has changed. The group decides to board up all doors and windows to prevent anyone from accidentally looking outside. In the present, Mallory and her children have been on the boat for 6 hours. Occasionally, they cover themselves with a blanket to remove their blindfolds. Mallory tries using her walkie-talkie to find other survivors but only hears the invisible entity whispering her name. In the past, Mallory and the other survivors coexist in the house. One day, a survivor named Olympia arrives, pleading to be let in. Douglas refuses but the others eventually convince him. They learn that Olympia is also pregnant. Later, Greg proposes using the CCTV cameras to monitor the outside. There is some doubt, but no one seems to mind. As Greg examines the footage, he suddenly notices something and freezes. It seems the entity has possessed him. The others hear a loud bang from his room and find Greg dead in a pool of blood. Realizing the entity can possess them through the monitor as well, they destroy it immediately. In the present, Mallory and her family have been rowing in the river for 14 hours when they hear a man's voice claiming it's safe to remove their blindfolds. Suspecting he may be infected, Mallory instructs the children to stay low and keep their blindfolds on. As the voice comes closer, the man claims to have food and describes the entity as friendly. Suddenly, he lunges at the boat, but Mallory is ready and defends herself with a machete, defeating him. In a flashback, the group has run out of food. Mallory, Tom, and a few others decide to travel to a nearby department store where Charlie used to work. They cover the car windows with black paint and use GPS for navigation. During their journey, the GPS beeps violently, signaling the entity's proximity. Tom manages to drive them to the store safely, where they quickly gather supplies. Mallory finds pet birds and decides to take them. As the group finishes scavenging, they hear a man screaming from a freezer. He claims he's been trapped inside for days with dwindling food. Tom and the others believe him and open the door, but the birds suddenly become noisy, sensing possessed people nearby. The man from the freezer changes demeanor, acting like a demon. Tom and the others struggle to contain him, but he proves to be incredibly powerful. Aware that everyone will die if he gets out, Charlie sacrifices himself to save the others. That night, Mallory and Douglas discuss in the kitchen when they hear noise from the garage. To their dismay, Machine Gun Kelly and his girlfriend have fled with their only vehicle. In the present, the family has been on the river for 24 hours. Exhausted, Mallory accidentally collides the boat against an old truck, causing the boy and their supplies to fall into the river. Luckily, Mallory rescues the boy and docks the boat near the shore. She warns the children to stay put and ventures into the woods to search for supplies. Using a thin rope to find her way back, she finds an abandoned hospital where she gathers food and clothes. As Mallory leaves the building, she hears the entity calling her name. Back at the shore, the little girl, growing anxious, disobeys Mallory's order and enters the jungle to find her mother. The entity tries to convince her to remove her blindfold, but Mallory arrives just in time to take her away. The three then continue their journey. In the next scene, Olympia lets a suspicious man named Gary into the house, angering the others for not consulting them. They examine Gary and allow him to stay. He claims there are people outside who live without blindfolds, having adapted to the entity. Everyone trusts him except for Douglas, who pulls out his gun and demands he leave. However, Cheryl quickly subdues Douglas by hitting him with a vase, and the group locks him in the garage. Subsequently, Olympia apologizes for causing trouble and being a burden, but Mallory reassures her she did nothing wrong. As the two pregnant women bond, they promise to care for each other's children if one of them dies. Mallory gives Olympia a Hello Kitty toy as a baby shower gift. In the present, the little girl holds the same toy, revealing she is Olympia's daughter. Mallory wraps herself and the kids in a blanket as they approach the rapids, warning it will be the most dangerous part of the journey. She says one of them must remove their blindfold to navigate, but both kids volunteer. Unwilling to risk either child, Mallory decides none will look, leaving their fate to chance. In the past, Mallory and Olympia go into labor simultaneously. Tom and Cheryl assist them upstairs while the suspicious Gary does something creepy downstairs. He reveals his monster drawings, showing he is possessed and aims to infect the others as an entity messenger. He puts Mallory's birds in the refrigerator to prevent warnings and starts tearing newspapers off the windows. Meanwhile, Olympia gives birth to a girl, and Mallory to a boy, bringing joy to everyone. Sadly, their happiness is brief when Gary enters the room and opens the window shades. Mallory quickly averts her eyes, but Olympia is not as fortunate. She becomes possessed and is about to commit the unthinkable when she hands her daughter to Mallory. After Olympia's death, Cheryl is forced to open her eyes and dies painfully. Douglas arrives, shooting Gary in the arm. The two struggle, but ultimately, Douglas is killed. Tom then eliminates Gary with his gun. Now, only Tom, Mallory, and the children remain. 5 years later, they live in a secluded house in the woods, where even the birds thrive. The children adapt to their new environment, but Mallory has yet to name them. One day, they discover infected people in cars searching for uninfected individuals, prompting them to question their safety. That night, Mallory's walkie-talkie activates, and a man named Rick informs her of a secure compound stocked with supplies. To reach it, they must travel down a dangerous river for several hours. He warns that the river is not safe for children and the birds are crucial to locating the compound. The next day, Tom and Mallory discuss their options. While scavenging, the infected people reappear. Tom urges Mallory to leave with the children as he confronts the threat. She reluctantly agrees. Tom fights off the infected, but after being shot, he removes his blindfold, becomes a monster, and kills them all before committing the unthinkable. Meanwhile, Mallory and the children reach home, where she briefs them about their journey. In the present, after 42 hours, they arrive at the treacherous rapids. The boat capsizes, but Mallory manages to get herself and the children to shore. They walk through the woods, ignoring the manipulative entity trying to make them remove their blindfolds. Following the sound of the birds, they reach a large compound, where they are allowed entry after confirming they are uninfected. Inside, they meet Rick, who explains that the compound was once a school for the blind, which is why its inhabitants were never infected. Dr. Laphan congratulates Mallory on her lovely children and asks for their names. Mallory names them Olympia and Tom. The film concludes as Mallory releases the birds from her bird box. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more videos.